Facebook ads and utilizing campaign budget optimization. Now recently I showed you guys behind the scenes to this one new campaign that we launched in April where we spent $212,000 that got about 5x return, slightly over $1 million in sales. If you did not watch the video, be sure to watch that video right after this one. But today, I'm going to walk you through the tactical steps because a lot of you guys in the comments section was asking me, how should you do the interest targeting? How should you set up the audiences, the lookalike audiences, and all of the little nuances, which we are going to go deep into. So remember guys, whenever you have any questions, remember leave them in the comments. I read the comments especially in the first 48 hours. So let's talk about CBO and how can you actually utilize this. So this exact campaign over here that we spent over 200 grand was utilizing this strategy. But in fact, one of the things that we did is I wanted to show you exactly what we tested here in this video. So by the end of this video, you're going to realize that it's going to save you a ton of money as well as mistakes, and it's going to give you your sanity back in terms of understanding what to test, what not to test. And to understand how this works, so first of all, let me see if I can kind of update this. So this was from April 1st to the end of June, or rather first week of July. So it's about 3 months. We spent this amount, and I broke it down to specific weeks to show you guys exactly what we were testing. Because here's the thing. A lot of people offer theory, but I never really believe in theory until I see the numbers myself. So this time here in this video, you're gonna see exactly what we tested so that you don't have to make the mistakes that we made. Okay, so in this same campaign, just so that you know, we are testing apple to apple. Okay, we have a lot of different campaigns across a lot of different accounts, but know that the numbers that you're about to see here in this training is on one funnel, one sales process, one specific campaign. All of these campaigns you're seeing is the subset of this $212,000 campaign for this one sales process. Okay, so over here in 11th to the 16th of May, okay, we spent about $24,000 utilizing this campaign. Now back then, what we did was we were testing audiences in CBO. So what is CBO? Just about a year ago, Facebook made it a permanent change so that whenever you set up your account, your budget, automatically it is optimized utilizing CBO. So this is how things used to be like. You have to spend your budget based on the ad set level. So if you want to spend $30 a day, you would spend $10 in ad set 1, $10 in ad set number 2, and $10 in ad set number 3. And then based on that, you have different conversions based on your different ads. However, today, the budget you would set is at the campaign level, so the higher level, and based on Facebook algorithm, based on all of the different numbers, they will determine how to allocate your budget and split it across your different ad sets. So because of that, Facebook then will determine based on your conversion, based on your objective, how to allocate the budget into the different ads. So it could be the case that ad set number 2 converts better than other, and rather than allocating and choosing this number yourself, Facebook, based on the algorithm, will do the heavy lifting and determine that number for you. So perhaps they could say, you know what, we want to spend $7 on ad set number 1, ad set number 2, we're going to put more money in there because it's proven to convert better, whilst ad set number 3 doesn't work really well, so we're going to spend $5 on it. And as a direct result of that, you get more conversions. Okay, so that's what CBO is, having the budget set at the campaign level. Okay, so the question is, how do you apply this? So notice what we tested. In the first week or the second week of May, we had these different campaigns. So under the campaign, what we tested was having different ad sets based on different interests. So if it was a different interest, it would be like one ad set. So if somebody likes public speaking, one ad set. People who likes Think and Grow Rich, one ad set. And we would have all these different campaigns based upon these different ad sets. So for example, if we wanted to test, let's say this ad set over here, as you can see, like one ad set for Tony Robbins, one ad set for Robert Kiyosaki, for Dean, for Gary, for Russell Brunson. And you can see, based on our initial numbers, it was actually really profitable. We know that based on our numbers, our statistics, to get $3 to on a webinar, we know that that means to get 100 people, it would only cost us $300, and we would literally just need one sale and we would more than break even, whereas our conversion was about 15%. So we were making about 15x returns on this campaign. So naturally, what do we want to do from this new campaign? We wanted to scale it even further. Now, this is where you need to understand when it comes to scaling, things can go like really wrong, okay, if you don't know what you're doing. Chances are, if you've ever ran ads before, you could be profitable spending $100 a day, but when you're gonna start spending $1,000 a day, $10,000 a day, that's when things can go, be really different. So what we did then was, in the second month, we started targeting different countries. We had a working funnel and we started scaling. And you'll notice now that our cost per registrant is now slightly higher. It's like $3.46. Now you could be thinking, wait a second, Peng Joon, that's not an improvement, that's worse. Well, when you have something that works and you want to scale it, we went into different countries like Australia where the cost per lead is much higher. Now, just because the cost per lead is higher, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing. Why? Because conversions is higher at the same time. However, here's the thing that I want to share with you guys. Setting it up the right way, and basically it's called utilizing the guiding ad set structure. Now, what is the guiding ad set structure? You'll see that for this week over here, 28th to the 2nd of July, we spent about 15,000. And in going to all these different countries, you can see that we went into different audiences. Let me show you how these audiences are set up, okay? The reason why when it comes to CBO, you want to understand and why it's so powerful is because Facebook always goes through this learning phase, right? Where you install a pixel and you want this pixel to mature over time. And how it matures is when you have a large enough sample size. And the issue with campaigns, if you have a small budget, is that sometimes you might not have a large enough sample size for Facebook to determine a specific conclusion, to give you more audiences or more potential buyers that look like that sample size, because the sample size is not big enough. And usually the sample size that is required for them to make a good conclusion is 50 conversions. A conversion could be a lead, a webinar registrant, it could be a buyer. And usually when you have 50 of them, that would be a conclusive enough sample size so that Facebook can give you more targeted people, buyers, based on their algorithm and allow the algorithm to do the heavy lifting. That is when we need to come back to this CBO, okay, and understand that there's three main things utilizing this guiding ad set structure. Now, what is a guiding ad set structure? You'll see that in a typical campaign, we have three different ad sets. Okay, now what are these ad sets? Number one, you have the super lookalikes, which we'll talk about in a second. Then you have a super interest, and then you have location. So why are there these three different ad sets? Now this first one over here, what is a super lookalike? A super lookalike is an audience that is very targeted, right? It looks like one of your hot or warm audiences. While this lookalike is amazing and it's great and usually converts the best. The problem is it's not large enough of a sample size, especially if you're on scale. You're gonna start scaling big. Now, super interest is where you have an interest group that is known to convert well. So let's say if you sell a Shopify product or a drop shipping product, you'll know that a super interest is probably people like Shopify, people like ClickFunnels, people like a specific person or book. Now at the same time, like, what is this? This third ad set is on just location. It's super broad, okay? Now, here's how I like you to think about this. A super broad audience would usually never convert. However, because you're clumping it together, what you're essentially telling Facebook is in a company, an organization, you have two seniors guiding this intern on what to do. So notice the result of this first campaign, this first example. We spent about $2,700 on this one campaign, but notice what it comprises of. Number one, this super lookalike. Now this super lookalike, like I mentioned, because it's super targeted, we could only spend $480. Facebook only allocated $485 on this. Why? It is because Facebook now determines the budget based on campaign level. So it's like we gave them the budget and they decided how to allocate this budget. And based on the algorithm, they decided, you know what? Let's spend $485 on super lookalike. We'll spend $1,000 just based on location alone and $1,200 based on super interest. So the issue with the old way, the mistake that most people do is that when they allocate a budget on the ad set, and when the campaign is just, for example, a lookalike audience, what's going to happen? This ad set here is going to saturate and reach diminishing returns too quickly. You need to understand the old way, which is the mistake that most marketers do, versus the new way, which is what you will be doing if you want to be able to scale campaigns profitably, and if you want to be like the 1% of people that's doing it right. Okay, so what is the old way? They take a good audience, so for example, like a lookalike audience, and they say, wow, this lookalike audience converts at $100. Very nice, okay? This lookalike audience is giving me a 5x return, a 3x return, a 10x return, whatever it might be. So let me start scaling it to $1,000 a day. Now, the moment they do that, what's gonna happen, what they're gonna realize is the CPM is going to shoot up, cost per 1,000 impressions is going to shoot up, cost per click is going to shoot up. Everything rises. Why? Because the audience and the sample size is not big enough for Facebook to continue scaling, right? It's a good audience, it's a hot audience, but when you want to scale to $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 a day, Facebook can't do that because the audience is not big enough. So how do you actually utilize this CBO using this guided ad set structure? Use this lookalike audience as this is like the mentor, right? Remember, there's 3 different audiences, okay? The second one would be the super interest groups, the people that is proven to convert. So the old way how marketers would do it, and the mistake they make is, for example, they say, you know what? An audience like Tony Robbins, okay, for example, this interest, okay, converts for me at $100. So because it converts at $100, let's try to scale this to $1,000 a day. Same thing here. What's going to happen? Eventually, CPM and CPC is going to increase. Why? Because it's going to saturate and reach diminishing returns really, really quickly. And it breaks when you try to scale. So, if you started to merge these 3 things together, lookalike, super interest, and then number 3, something super broad. It could be something along the lines of people who stay within like a 50-mile or kilometer radius from city name. So for me, in this campaign that you're seeing right now, is literally just based on location, which is anybody who lives in Singapore. Now, usually, this would be a horrible way to scale, right? Just targeting to an entire country. But what am I doing? Because they're all inside one roof now, and I allow Facebook to decide how to allocate the budget, and I'm telling Facebook, okay, look, I want to spend whatever, $1,000 a day, but allocate this and you decide and do the heavy lifting for me. Now, what's Facebook going to do? And remember, Facebook wants you to make money because it's only when you make money are you going to come back and spend more money with them, right? The moment you start losing money, you're not going to come back, but they need to know what you want. So Facebook, what's going to happen naturally is they're going to start allocating budget on the ad sets that they know is most likely to convert first. So they can see, they can tell. Again, they have data on everybody, right? So they're gonna say, okay, let's spend like $200 here. And when it's reaching diminishing returns where you're not getting the conversion and the cost per click, cost per conversion is getting high, they're gonna start allocating money over here. And when this eventually saturates out, they're gonna allocate budget over here. However, because they have learned through these 2 mentors, okay, let's use that metaphor, right? And this is like the junior intern. This now is going to convert well, even though it's a super cold, broad audience, because this is learning through these other 2 people. And that is literally what's happening right now. That's what CBO is. That's what you want to do in order to set it up the right way. So if we were to go into this case study, okay, you'll see that in this week over here, I have a lot of different types of super audiences. So if I were to drill down the super lookalike, you can see, first of all, notice that from $2,700 ad spend, it cost me $13 for somebody to take an action, okay, which is a registrant. And you'll see that this super lookalike, as predicted, because it's a lookalike with the hot audience, is the lowest, right? $8.23. And by the way, if you don't know like how to track this cost per conversion or a pixel or what's required in order to make this happen, I've got so many other videos that talks about that. If you have never watched it or have no idea how to do it, be sure to watch my other videos that shows you exactly how to go from beginner to expert. We'll link that video somewhere as well. I'll watch that video right after this one. But you'll see that it's $8.23. If we were to take a look at what's inside this ad set, why is it converting the best, it is because it looks alike with all these other people. What does it look like? It looks like the people who watched my videos. It looks like the people who looks like my buyers. It looks like people who have engaged with my page on Facebook, on Instagram. It looks like the people that has bought stuff from me, engaged with me. How you can apply this and start creating your lookalike warm or hot audiences is to tear it down first. What you want to do is to think about how can you have lookalike from your hot to your warm to your cold audience. So what does a lookalike audience look like? You always begin with your hottest audience. You always create a lookalike based on like your buyers. You want to use a lookalike like your buyers. So people that's bought from you before, you're gonna pull out their email, export it to Facebook, so that Facebook now can have a 1% lookalike of your buyers. Now, if you don't have buyers just yet and you're starting out, then slightly warmer would be leads. People who have given you their name and email, but maybe they didn't buy something for you. People that has opted in, registered for a webinar, right? Now remember, it's gold in, gold out. Okay, you put crap in, you get crap out. It doesn't mean you go out there and buy like 100,000 emails at $5, because they're not warm. Then, as you go colder and colder, you would want to have lookalike of people that maybe have visited your page. And then after that, slightly colder, this would be people that perhaps engaged with your page, liked, commented, or shared any of your stuff. Then after that, perhaps it could be people who follow you on your Facebook page. And then going colder would be people who has watched maybe 50% of your video. So ultimately what you want to be doing is you want to be creating a custom audience of your buyers, custom audience for your leads, custom audience for people who visited your page, custom audience for people who have engaged with you, follow you, watch your video. And then now you are going to create a lookalike, it could be 1%, 2%, 3% of these people, so that this is like the mentor, the director in the company, the manager at the company that is going to take care of everything else. So if you are starting out and you don't have buyers and leads yet, that's okay. Start off with creating content, posting videos and that, and if somebody watches your stuff 50%, 75%, or has visited your page or given you their name and email, that's how you start scaling. And that is why, even though this campaign over here, where this location is super broad, right? Literally anybody that's 21 and 55 years old living in Singapore. Now this would be usually a downright stupid type of targeting, right? But why does it work? It works because now I'm utilizing a different campaign that guides it. Even though it's super broad and it's targeting the entire country with no interest, you can see that my cost per registrant is actually lower than super interests. Isn't that crazy? Why? Because there's the guide that guides it. And that's how you scale utilizing CBO. And if you take a look at this super interest over here, I am clumping it all together. Inside my super interest, I would have people like who might like Law of Attraction or Shark Tank or workshop and public speaking and TED Talks and Think and Grow Rich and Rich Dad Poor Dad. And now, why am I clumping it together? I was testing this in order to scale, and this is what we do for all of our different funnels. Versus, again, remember what happened initially? What happened initially was we were splitting it. Let's take a look at a campaign where we have a decent amount of ad spend. Okay, so let's take this campaign here where we have spent like $1,300 on this. So this campaign over here, notice that we are breaking it down into individual ad sets. Now, notice that some of them, they didn't even run. And over here, we are clumping it together. Why are we clumping it together? Remember, because we want the pixel to mature faster. We want to have at least 50 conversions. Now, if you're somebody that's starting out, and you might not have the numbers yet. So notice this, right? So I've got like 1% engaged with Facebook, I've got 75% Instagram video views, engaged with Instagram, webinar registrants, lookalike. But you notice that because I'm not able to get 50 conversions, like this has got 18, it's got 1, when it comes to scaling, it becomes tough, okay? So this still works, but when you want to scale, you want to clump it together and then let Facebook do the heavy lifting, okay? So now I'm taking all these different super interests together, and that is why over here you'll see that because of this, all in all, the campaign becomes profitable. And that is why, to kind of summarize, that's how we spent. We started small, and when we scale, we utilize this CBO method, utilizing the guiding ad set structure. And that's how we scaled to this one campaign, this one funnel, $200,000 that resulted in over $1 million in sales from this new sales process. Let me know in the comments what your biggest takeaway is. Any questions you might have, comments, different nuances, and I'll address them in the future videos. As you know that, all of the videos we've been putting out, we've been giving out a random $100 to anybody that comments, asks a question. And be sure to subscribe to this channel if you enjoyed this video, if you like to see real, tactical, as well as strategic videos that happens behind the scenes. Make sure you subscribe so that you'll be the first to be able to watch. And be sure to smash the like button as well. It does help out the channel a bit. This is Peng Joon here. Hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next video.